Hi, everyone. I'm Heben.
I'm Tracy.
And welcome to another round with Heben and Tracy.
We missed you.
Oh, we did. We're so excited for this week's episode.
Why? What's happening this week?
First of all, I have a new segment called
dun.
Is This Real Life? I'm going to talk to you about some local news stories that made me question if this is real life.
Okay.
Also on this episode, we bring back What Had Happened Was.
What happened was...
This is the part where Jean Grey will be singing that, not Tracy.
Hater.
I miss hearing Tracy tell stories. I want that forever.
Yes. So I got a story about white people in dashiki.
Oh, I'm so ready. And then we have the privilege of interviewing Dr. Adrienne Keene. She's a postdoc at Brown and also the writer behind the popular blog Native Appropriations.
I wonder what it's like to have people call you doctor and like you actually deserve it.
Because we're a lot of people call you doctor.
I tried to get people to call me Dr. Tracy for a while and then just didn't, First of all, it didn't work. Second of all,
I understand. I'm really trying to get an honorary doctorate, yo.
That's
the
way to
only
go.
way I'm getting a higher education degree.
To go back to school for another 75 years.
Listen, let's start the show, guys.
Let's do it. So, story time. What had happened was...
What happened?
I had gone back home to visit my family last week, or just, I don't know, some days ago.
Okay.
And my mom and I went to the AT&T store. Now, if you know anything about me, or if you know someone close to me, you may know that, yes, I still have an iPhone 4. I'm not proud of it. I don't enjoy it. The camera is awful, so awful that I don't even take selfies anymore. That's very hard for me.
Pray for Tracy, guys.
Please pray for me. But I don't have a newer phone because... I was only able to upgrade like maybe a month ago.
Okay.
And they were like, well, the new phone's coming out in September, so you might as well wait. And I was like, you know what? I've had this phone for 7 years. I can wait a couple more months. So for whatever reason, my cell phone is in my mother's name. Her cell phone is in my name. Okay. So I was like, well, since I'm at home, I'm going to collect my mother and we're going to go to the AT&T store and see if we can like get this upgrade going.
Okay.
So we're in the store. And you know how you walk in and you do you sign up and like you wait for somebody to come get you, whatever. Yeah. So me and my mom are sitting in the waiting chairs, the waiting area, whatever, just waiting, just sitting. And over to my right, I'm like, oh, hey, there's a white guy in a dashiki. And indeed, there was like this old, bald, gray white man wearing a dashiki. And it was like white with like pink and orange and like maroon, like a very brightly colored dashiki, right?
I see, sir.
And I'm like, that's not what I was expecting to see in Kentucky, of all places. Like, where do we get these kind of white people from? Then I was like, well, does he really know it's a dashiki? Who knows? But whatever. I see it. I comment on it. We move on.
You think he doesn't know it's a dashiki, just a regular shirt?
I think it's possible. Like, you see those pictures of like old white people in like black fraternity and sorority t-shirts because they like got it at like a Goodwill somewhere.
I have never seen that.
Oh my gosh, these pictures are amazing. You have not lived until you've seen
like just white people pretending to be alphas
in an Omega Sci-Fi t-shirt. You have not lived.
Oh gosh.
Right. So I figured, he got it wherever.
Sure.
Maybe he just saw it
he's like,
in the
this
window.
Is trendy.
Yeah, he was like, yeah, this is a nice looking shirt. I'm gonna wear it. Whatever. So we're waiting. The man in the dashiki is done with his business, so he gets up, starts to walk to the exit. And to do that, he had to cross in front of my mother and I. And to my left was another old white man just sitting down, just being old and white. I don't know, just sitting by himself. And so the man in the dashiki is like, he gets past the old white man. It's almost to the door. And the old white man who was sitting down looks at him and says something like, well, how much courage did it take you to come out of the house in that shirt today?
Oh my God.
And like, But I expected him to have like a little chuckle, like some friendly ribbing, ha ha ha, whatever. But the man in the dashiki was not having it. He was like, excuse me, what'd you say? And he repeated himself, right? And he was
he doubled down.
Right. He was like,
you had courage to leave the house in a dashiki, sir.
He was like, it's very easy to wear. He was like, I have 7 other of these in different colors.
So he does just treat it like a shirt.
Yes. He was like, I got this shirt at Tina's Thai restaurant across the river in Indiana, and this is the first time in 10 years I've ever had, for the 10 years I've been wearing it or something, like I always get comments on this shirt.
10 years?
This is what he said now. I don't know. And so then the other man, you would think you'd be like, oh, okay, my bad. I was just joking. And the man sitting down is like, well, are the good comments or the bad comments? Do they chase the women away?
This is the shadiest dude.
Right. And so the man in the dashiki starts walking towards this old man. And I was like, yo, Mom, this is going to go down. I turn around to my mother. She's huddled over in the corner, both trying to stifle her laughter and like trying to get out of the way in case they like really, really get to it. And so he takes a step towards the man and sitting down, and he's like, I'll have you know that this shirt is from where Obama is from.
What?
And if you don't like this shirt,
does he mean Kenya?
He means Africa, okay? He didn't know.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Did not know. And the thing is, it wasn't an authentic dashiki. I know because I have 2 of the same dashikis that he
What do you mean
right?
authentic
Like
dashiki?
one from like actual African people, like African
I don't know
handmade
how to
dashikis.
tell you this.
What?
It's the same dashiki.
No, I mean, like, you know how you can like, how do I describe this? So there's like the ones that are clearly like made in China, right?
I'm telling you that I am from Africa.
Which I understand.
And have been to many a market there.
Right.
And it is the same texture and fabric as the shit I get on 125th in Harlem.
Okay. I guess what I'm referencing then is like the trendier dashikis maybe that you can find on like Etsy that come from like Ghana different. And like have like elaborate like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay. That's what I meant. And so it just so happened that at this point, it was our turn to get called up. So Tony or whoever was helping us like walks over to us, and he had to walk in between the 2 old men that were fighting. And so at that point, the man that was sitting down kind of took that as his opportunity to get up and kind of scamper out the store.
Oh my God.
So he gets up and leaves, and the other man leaves. And me and my mom watched the parking lot for like 10 minutes to see if they was really going to throw down.
Go down in the Sprint parking lot.
No, it did not. Unfortunately,
Yo,
and for the best.
Imagine if 2 white men just started fighting about a dashiki in front of you.
Right? At an AT&T store. I was just like, what has happened to this city since I've left it?
Wow.
It's crazy.
I have never witnessed anything like that.
Listen, I really wish that a punch had been thrown. That's all.
This is our new segment, Is This Real Life? It's just basically like, you know, you read something sometimes, you're like, this can't be real. This cannot be life.
Oh, man.
Our first story comes from Dadeville, Alabama. Frank Goodman is a city council member of a town of about 3,200 people. And what does he do for this town, you ask? Well, he has proposed an ordinance that would ban sagging pants from his city, an idea which, according to him, he got from God. God told him
oh my God.
to put a city ordinance out to ban sagging pants. So I don't think I can talk about it more. I just want to directly quote him. This is the state as he sees it. Seeing the young boys with pants hanging down, having to walk wide-legged, holding their pants up to keep them from falling down. It's gotten real bad. It's something I couldn't take no more. Who's going to respect you if you don't respect yourself? So he goes on about his religious epiphany. I prayed and asked God to show me what I should do and the way I should go about it. What would God do?
Oh my God.
Did God go around doing this?
God didn't wear pants.
He's in a fucking robe. So he goes, I prayed about this. I know that God would not go around with his pants down. He goes on, he would show me the saggy pant. I'm sorry.
Just pants. Just
Okay. That is a direct quote. He would show me the saggy pant.
I can't.
Okay, I can get through this sentence. It's one of the things.
Okay. I will say nothing.
Stop laughing.
Okay.
He would show me the saggy pant. It's one of the things he did not do. It is not in his orders to do this to gain eternal life. Oh my God.
Oh, I'm so tired.
So if you're wondering why a city official would spend any time or resources on the sartorial choices of their citizens, this has actually happened. Albany, Hampton, and Hahira, as well as Ocala, Florida, and Jefferson Davis Parish in Louisiana, all have ordinances like this on the books. And the fine for a violation of this ranges anywhere between $25 and $500.
Oh, my God.
Oh, important side note. This is a black man.
What?
I feel like I did not mention that at the top.
Not that at all.
It's definitely like a respectability thing where people are like,
oh my
you know,
gosh, yeah, that if we don't respect ourselves, how could anybody else respect you? Just
like,
took on a whole
as
new...
if Martin Luther King was not assassinated in a
wearing
suit.
a suit. Nah, we're not gonna mention that.
Okay.
Mention that.
Anyways, his fellow council member, this is the final cherry. So one of his fellow council members, Stephanie Kelly, is concerned that this ordinance isn't, quote, for everybody. Does she mean that this is an ordinance that will most likely be disproportionately applied to black people and is part of yet another way that black men are policed? No, she does not. What she means is that there should be an equivalent for girls. So she wants to introduce an ordinance. She says, I quote, "I think for the girls with these shorts up high, looking like undergarments and dresses so short, I don't want us to be showing favoritism."
What?
The best part to me, honestly, is that the town attorney who would have to like legally draft these ordinances, Robin Reynolds, says he hopes to have these ready for the next city council meeting. He, quote, says, "If the council wants me to write in something for the females, it will take a little more creativity on my part."
Huh?
Official quote.
I just have all of the questions. Do you remember? So when you said that he was black,
okay, she's also a black woman.
Oh my gosh, my heart is frowning. But there was an old black dude who was on American Idol years ago.
I don't remember.
Oh my gosh, heaven!
I did not watch American Idol.
I googled it as you were telling the story. His name is General Larry Platt. And he went on American Idol to sing a song about sagging called Pants on the Ground. Would you like me to sing a bit of Pants on the Ground?
Please,
because
Tracy.
it is etched in every brain cell that I have. And it goes, "Pants on the ground, looking like a fool with your pants on the ground." I can't get through it.
Yo, I do remember
Hat
that
turned
song.
sideways, pants hit the ground. You walking, talking with your pants on the ground. Giddy up. Hey, get your pants on the ground.
It's incredible. There are just so many levels to this story.
Oh my gosh. I'm upset that these people exist.
So all of that comes from Alexander City local paper, The Outlook, and also original reporting from the Daily Beast. These are all real quotes, y'all.
I'm tired and
He
sad.
would show me the saggy pants. This has been Is This Real Life? If you have local stories you want to share with us, please send them to another round at BuzzFeed.com.
Please send all your ridiculous stories.
Because I think this can be a reoccurring segment. Because America's unreal.
Oh my God.
Pants on the ground, looking like a fool with your pants on the ground, with the gold in your mouth, hat turned sideways, pants hit the ground. Call yourself a cool cat, looking like a fool, walking downtown with your pants on the ground. Giddy up. Hey, get your pants off the ground, looking like a fool, walking, talking with your pants on the ground. Giddy up. Hey, get your pants off the ground.
So we are here today with Dr. Adrienne Keene, the writer behind the popular blog Native Appropriations, which I think was like kind of the beginning of the internet's conversations about cultural appropriation. We're hyped she's here. What's up?
Yay! Thanks for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
Welcome.
Before we get into all that and the blog, tell us a little bit about yourself. Like, where are you from? What was home like for you?
Well, I grew up in Southern California, in suburban San Diego, in a very... now as an educational researcher, I look back on it and it was a very segregated community of Latino community and a white community. Not a lot of Native folks there. The only Native people at my huge high school were me and my sister. So my only exposure to other Native people was my immediate family, and I'm a citizen of the Cherokee Nation, which is based in Oklahoma. And so we would go back and hang out in Oklahoma, and I'd see my relatives there, but largely grew up in a very white area. And I think that informs a lot of my understandings and a lot of my thinking is that experience of just complete erasure of Indigenous people.
What was your relationship to your Native identity? like as a child and like maybe now? Like how has it changed?
It's definitely changed. And it's something, Native identity is really complicated because it's a racialized identity in the U.S., but it's also very much a political identity, and we're citizens of sovereign nations. And that, of course, understanding for me as a kid growing up was not something I really deeply understood. And I also can totally pass as white. And so that really informed my experiences as well, because I wasn't really going to assert something that made me different. And so it wasn't until I got to college and I finally had a community of other Native folks my age I could hang out with, and I could share experiences with and really start to understand the kind of political side of my identity and take Native American Studies classes and really start to build up that connection again. Because my grandma had moved away from Oklahoma when she was 18 after attending a government boarding school for all of her high school time. And the history of that is really long and complicated, too, that we could unpack for the next hour.
So NPR recently ran an article that interviewed you about Native students in college and their experience. And there were a lot of comments about you, quote unquote, looking white.
Yeah, about my face.
So is that something that like you now have like a stock answer for, or is that like a thing you don't even address anymore? How do you think about that?
I actually knew that was going to happen at some point. And the way that I have dealt with it on the blog is that I have been 100% honest from the beginning. And especially right now, there's all sorts of stuff going on with like what they're calling ethnic fraud in higher education. And
what does that mean?
It's very complicated issues of hiring Native scholars and people seeking to prove that they are not actually Native, or in fact, they are not actually Native. And so there are people who have kind of taken on this identity. And there are a lot of layers of complication of which tribes are federally recognized, which are not. But it's something that happens a lot. So I was mentally prepared for it, and I've also gotten those questions my entire life. But to see it kind of play out on a national stage was a little unnerving, because no one had anything substantive to say about my research or about like the actual
it's
content.
Just, like, your face.
And there were some very, very interesting comments that came out of that. So to me, I don't really have a stock answer, but the whole experience with NPR made me a lot more comfortable in talking about it just because I have to. And it's not something that I'm ashamed of anymore. It used to be, it would bring embarrassment and a lot of shame that I didn't grow up closer to my community, that I didn't like look more Indian, whatever that means. But the reality is I had no control over the choices of my ancestors, the government policies that were inflicted upon my community and upon my immediate family that led to me growing up in California and led to me looking the way I do. So why would I feel ashamed of that?
Right.
It's the history of
even
colonization.
Today you were tweeting about you got a fly ass haircut.
Thank you.
But you were tweeting about how that's also still fraught.
Yeah. We had this really great exhibit opening last night for my exhibit that I curated at Brown with some contemporary Native artists. And I walked in with my new haircut, and everyone was giving me a lot of compliments. And then I saw one of my close Native friends, and her eyes got all big and she looked really nervous and was like, "You cut your hair." And I immediately was like, no, it's okay. I went to get a haircut, because in our communities, cutting your hair is a sign of mourning. And a lot of times that's only something you do when someone passes away. And so her immediate reaction was something horrible must have happened. So even when I was sitting in the salon chair, like ready to chop it all off, I cut off like over 10 inches of hair.
Wow.
I was going back and forth in my mind, like, is this really what I want to do? Is this, am I being a bad Indian by cutting off my hair? Because there is a lot of like spiritual teachings that are tied to your hair as well. But it just gets complicated. Sophomore year of college, I cut off all my hair to donate after a friend passed away. And I came back to the dorm, and the first thing someone said to me was, "Oh, you don't look Native anymore." And I was like, what does that even mean? But it really stuck with me. And so for a long time, I kept my hair really long because of that. But it was only because I was trying to play into these stereotypes of what a Native looks like.
Let's talk about the blog a little bit. So how long have you been doing it? What was the inspiration for it?
I've been doing it for over 5 years now. The 5-year blogiversary was, I guess, in January.
Oh, hey.
Happy birthday. Happy belated birthday.
We have Harvard to thank for the blog because
What do you mean?
that's where I went to grad school.
Okay.
So my doctorate is from the Harvard Graduate School of Education, and I was the only Native doctoral student in the entire school. And I didn't have any Native scholars on any of my syllabi, much less teaching the classes. We would go through things like the history of American education without ever touching on the fact that Native people even like existed or the government boarding school system existed. And on top of it, it was right when the tribal trends, quote unquote, I'm doing scare quotes, in fashion first started. And there's a huge Urban Outfitters right across from my campus. And one day I was walking through there and it was like every horrible stereotype you could imagine, like totem pole jewelry stands and like neon dream catchers and fake moccasins and feather earrings and headdress shirts. And something finally kind of clicked together where I was like, my classmates don't know that Native people exist. So they tell me to my face that they've never met a Native person, that they wonder why I'm studying Native education because they think we're all dead. And it's because the only images they ever see is this crap in Urban Outfitters that has no connection to actual contemporary communities, that's based in these stereotypes. So I started the blog as a place to kind of catalog all that stuff because at the time I had no idea how to talk about it. I just knew it was like problematic. I knew it was connected, but I didn't know any of the language to actually talk about it. And it's funny to look back at the early posts because they're like, what is this? This is weird. I think this is bad. But there's nothing kind of behind it. And now I go into these long, in-depth explanations and pull in all the random theory that I've learned from grad school as well to kind of talk about and theorize why this is actually bad.
You've been writing about this for a while now, 5 years. Have you noticed any changes in the way, like on the internet, people talk about cultural appropriation?
Well, 5 years ago, I don't think anyone knew what that term meant.
I would agree. I think that's pretty accurate.
I think there was small pockets of the internet where the conversations were happening because those were the conversations that I was looking to enter. So there was an existing community, but it was very small.
For our listeners who may not know, how would you describe cultural appropriation and why do you write about it so much?
So cultural appropriation, the way I always describe it is that at the most basic level, it's just the taking from culture that is not your own. Spiritual practices, cultural markers, clothing, anything that kind of identifies that culture. And that at its base is not problematic. What becomes an issue is you can't separate it from the systems of power that are in place. And so especially for Native people, you can't talk about cultural appropriation. You can't talk about borrowing, quote unquote, things from cultures without talking about colonization and the ongoing issues of colonialism that we face. And the example I always give is if a lawmaker in D.C. is trying to make pass a law that's going to help protect Native sovereignty or land or environmental issues, and then they walk out of their office and are met with the logo of the Washington R words, how are they supposed to make an actual informed decision about real contemporary Native people if that's the image that they see every day?
Ooh. How do you feel about, I guess, like, so you use a lot of academic language. Like a lot of your study and your work has been in academic spaces, but you also have this very public, very accessible blog. Like, how do you think about how you write, your voice, your tone, and just like where you get knowledge from, where people get knowledge from?
That's one of the things I love best about the blog is I have always felt very uncomfortable in the academic spaces I occupy. I don't feel like I am a part of these Ivy League schools that I have been at. I always feel like I'm slightly an outsider and kind of this like spy for the revolution. And so what then I am able to do is take these complicated theories that feel very disconnected from the things I care about and apply them to things that I'm seeing every single day and make it something that is accessible to everyone. Being able to name things is really important to me. So like when I experience a microaggression, being able to say like, hey, that was a microaggression, or being able to label colorblind racism or just all of these kind of terms that I've learned from research, to be able to apply them and name things, to me gives power back to me.
Yeah, there's been so much like hand wringing over microaggressions. I'm just like, yo, it's just a useful unit of measurement. I also think a part of it is just like white people are embarrassed that the random interpersonal thing that they've been doing with their coworker is actually a systematic thing that has a name and is a part of a larger thing.
Yeah.
So I've noticed a lot that if you want like news about Native American issues, there aren't that many places to go for them.
No.
Where do you go to get news about your community?
So we have literally like one national kind of news outlet, and it's Indian Country Today.
Yeah.
And the hard thing is Indian Country Today is trying to be the New York Times and BuzzFeed and everything like all at once. So it's trying to be everything. And so we have these hard-hitting, interesting journalistic pieces next to 10 photos of res puppies that make you go, aw. So it's really so it's really hard to, if that's our only news outlet, I think the conversations don't reach a national stage. So Twitter has become this incredible resource for me and a lot of other Native people, because people are tweeting out links to their tribal newspaper, or they're telling you what's going on in their community at their tribal council meeting or at the protest or whatever it is, in ways that we don't get from actual media outlets. So there's a huge Native contingent on Twitter.
You wrote an open letter to Native college students called Dear Native College Student, You Are Loved, about navigating college in a place that often feels alienating or doesn't recognize your identity. Oh, it's so good. But I wanted to talk a little bit about, because it talks, well, actually, you can describe it. I'm not going to. But I want to talk about like self-care and mental health and how that ties into your work.
So the letter I wrote to the Stanford Native community after they lost a student to suicide at the over winter break. The reason I wrote the letter, well, of course, is because I feel so deeply for that community after being a part of it, but also because we went through the same experience when I was a student on campus, where we lost a Native student to suicide. And so I was heartbroken all over again to think of what those students were going through, because I knew exactly what it felt like. And suicide in Native communities is a huge issue. We experience suicide rates, I think it's 2.5 times the national average.
Wow.
And it's the leading cause of death for Native men between the age, I think, of 22 and 35 or something like that. Don't quote me on that statistic, but it's something like that. And so that's the flip side of the work that I do is and in that letter I talk about that I believe so deeply that college is such an important and positive thing for the students themselves and for our communities. But the flip side of that is that I worry about the environments that I'm sending my students into. Because when you're one of a handful of students, it's that self-care piece can really be lost. If you feel like you have the weight of your nation on your shoulders, that all of the positive change in your community is up to you, that's a lot for anyone to handle, much less a young college student. So it's really, really tough.
Let's talk about Halloween a little. I don't mean to switch gears so dramatically.
Our good friend Jean Denby likes to refer to Halloween as Blackface Christmas.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, this is when all of the offensive Halloween costumes come out.
Halloween.
How do you, I know that when Halloween comes around, I have to have to sit myself down and be like, okay, you're going to see a lot of horrible shit on the internet. You're going to see people.
Not even on the internet, like just when you're going out.
Anywhere, yeah. But you're going to see people dressed as Trayvon Martin. You're going to see people dressed as Caitlyn Jenner. How do you personally prepare? Because I know that there's just so many people who don't know that wearing a headdress is wrong. There are even people who can maybe comprehend that blackface is not okay, but even those people, maybe I'm being generous, but even those people are just what? It's a headdress. What's the problem?
For Native folks, the time from Halloween to from Columbus Day to
God.
Thanksgiving is the worst. So it's
my God.
I mean, I would avoid the internet for the days after Halloween. Now I just get tired because I have 9 or 10 posts about Halloween specifically, and they it's every single layer of what goes on and why you shouldn't do that. Let's talk about the descriptions of the costumes. Let's talk about the costumes themselves. Let's give you a play Bible, of what you should do when your friend dresses up as an Indian. Let's talk about, here's a deep, heartfelt personal letter about what this means.
And here are all the angles
ideas
covered.
Of other things that you can dress as. There are other options.
Probably
I was like,
millions of
sexy Scrabble board, like whatever you want.
So I'm gonna be a sexy Scrabble
Yo,
board
it's
this year.
such a
I don't
dope
know how
idea.
I'm gonna pull it off, but it's gonna happen.
Last night, my friends came up with a Donald Trumpkin, like
Ooh.
a pumpkin and Donald Trump, which
I'm
I
not
thought
mad at
was,
it. I'm not
was
mad
pretty
at it.
okay. I don't know, but yeah. So I don't know what else to say. It's like I've given you all the resources, and you're still gonna do this. So I don't know what to do. But
There's also been those like nifty, like PSA style things that have gone viral on the internet that just said my culture is not a costume.
Yeah, which is
Please
a sad
respect
thing to have
basic
to tell people.
ideas about my identity.
Yeah.
But the hard thing is, no matter what, even those were so beautiful. Like the campaign was so beautifully done and really powerful, and the responses, like people just are not okay with being told that they can't dress up as something for Halloween. And to me, that's like such a low level thing.
Oh my God,
like,
what
in
are you,
your
a
life.
child?
Being PC is gonna ruin this country.
Oh my God.
Y'all too sensitive.
Yeah.
It's just a costume.
But it does truly confound me that I'm just telling you, like, on a really basic, fundamental human dignity level, like, it's disrespectful for you to pretend to, like, have to be me for a costume.
Right.
What is it about people that says no to that? I don't
Yeah.
get that. Is it just like you can't tell white people to do nothing?
That's exactly what it
Yeah.
is.
That's
That's
it?
exactly what
They're
it
not
is.
used to hearing like no. They're not here to saying that's not for you.
Yeah.
I mean, think of the history
to tell
of
you no, though.
everything.
True. It's so depressing. It's such a simple task. Don't do this.
Do you ever want to wear an offensive white people costume for Halloween?
So one of my classmates from Stanford actually did that last Halloween.
Oh, what
she
was it?
she wore a blonde wig and like did like whitened up her face and had brochures about cultural appropriation and went around to,
Oh my
to
God.
folks.
Did she
But
also wear Uggs and carry around?
I think she
pumpkin
did
spice
actually.
latte?
I know she had. I think Uggs were part of the costume. I'm not kidding, but for me, like the way I look, it wouldn't really be making a statement. I kind of feel like I feel like be confused.
Whenever I think of like visual representations of Thanksgiving, to sort of backtrack a little bit, I think of the Addams Family movie where Wednesday Addams goes to Heaven's given me a blank.
I haven't seen anything. You know that.
Oh, okay. So
it's
add
such a
this
great
to the
scene.
list. Add this to the list. So Wednesday Addams goes off to like summer camp or something, and they're like, all the white people are like, oh, we're gonna reenact Columbus coming to the Americas and the first Thanksgiving, and everything was like, hi, I'm Columbus. Now the Indians are like, or the neighbors are like, here, let us give you like delicious foods, like, you know, a very fictitious Disney-fied
that didn't
version of how
happen.
it didn't happen at all. And so then Wednesday Addams comes out and she's just like, we're gonna burn all this shit down because this is actually how it happened. And I think like her brother went and like started a
Yo,
fire
go
or
off,
something.
Wednesday,
Yes,
go off.
that is what I always think of when I think about Thanksgiving.
And there's this awesome Canadian DJ First Nations DJ group called A Tribe Called Red, and they're
Oh my
my
God.
favorite, and I love them. And they did a remix using sound clips from that scene called "Burn Your Village to the Ground."
Years from now, my people will be forced to live in mobile homes on reservations. Your people will wear cardigans and drink highballs. We will sell our bracelets by the roadsides. You will play golf and enjoy hot hors d'oeuvres. My people will have pain and degradation. Your people will have stick shifts. The gods of my tribe have spoken. They have said, do not trust the pilgrims.
It seems that lately in the news, there's been like a lot of really awful cases of, in pop culture in particular, of just horrible appropriative stuff. Most notably, Adam Sandler in his movie The Ridiculous Six.
I don't know if it's most notably just one of millions.
One of
just
many.
one of. Yeah, that's true.
So Adam Sandler is making a few movies for Netflix because people are like, yeah, let's give
Who
Adam
keeps telling
Sandler
him
for
to make
movies.
movies?
I don't know.
Who am I?
It's apparently supposed to be a parody of Westerns. I also think white people need like a satire
Yes.
/ parody intervention.
Yes.
Absolutely.
But it's called The Ridiculous Six, and it made news because they were Native American consultants that were on set that were saying, hey, this is an offensive joke.
Yeah.
Don't do this.
They like walked, a lot of the native actors walked off the movie set because it was that offensive.
Yeah.
Have there been any meaningful pop culture representations for you?
To use the example of Netflix, there's actually on Netflix are some incredible Native films by Native filmmakers that really stand in stark contrast to most of the other representations. And one of my friends who is a filmmaker, his name's Sterling Harjo, and he all of his films are on Netflix, and they're really beautiful films. And he shoots them in Oklahoma with his community and uses all Native casts, and they really highlight different parts of Native communities that often are not shown. And so that to me is positive, that there's a place where anyone can go and find these films if they want to. They're a little buried and you have to kind of dig for them.
How are they categorized? What's their Netflix
So that's
genre?
the problem is I get mad at Netflix is there's no like if you search Native American, it will only give you films that have Native American in the title. It doesn't like have a sort of genre search or anything like that. So you have to actually know what you're looking for.
Is there like a euphemistic way that they refer to them? Like we get urban movies.
No, we don't see. We're so invisible. We don't even get a. Get a euphemism.
Can't even get a euphemism. What do we got to do?
I will say though, Parks and Rec. I'm okay with the Native representations in that show.
Yes, he goes in.
Yes, because they make white people the joke. Like it's not the natives aren't the joke. Like the stupidity of the white folks is the joke, which is fine.
The consistent punchline.
So that's one mainstream one that I'm okay with.
You recently made news. Speaking of Netflix, you recently made news because you were tweeting / blogging about Pocahontas, the description of Pocahontas on Netflix.
Yeah. So it started with I just was on Netflix and I watch all of those Native films on Netflix. And so there must be some like algorithm because Pocahontas popped up as a you should watch.
May enjoy this
and
movie.
I was like, no, I will not enjoy that movie. But I clicked on it because I was just curious. And the description was so bad. It was like an American Indian woman is slated to marry the best warrior in the village, but she yearns for something more, and then meets Captain John Smith. And
So it's a love story, guys.
it just like seems
It's a romance.
so like gross and overly sexual, especially when we have all these issues with the sexualization of Native women. And I don't know. So I did not think it was going to be a big thing. I like literally sent one tweet out and was like, ew, like, can we talk about this description? And then people were like, I don't see why it's wrong. And I was like, okay. So then I put like maybe 6 more tweets about why it was wrong. And then I looked up some of the other Disney movies that have male protagonists to like show that they get to like have adventures and be king of the jungle. And they're not defined by the
They
romance
get to have a say in their
plotline.
life and fate.
And then because people still didn't get it, then I went to the blog and I was like, okay, here are the tweets I sent out. Here's a little more context. Like, let's talk about the like colonial white supremacy embedded in this this description. And then lo and behold, a week later, Netflix emailed me and was like, hey, so we saw all this and we changed it. And I was excited. The new description is a lot better.
That's so dope.
Yeah,
That's
it's
literally
amazing.
never how people
No,
respond.
ever.
And the funny
If
thing
only
was,
Urban Outfitters ever did that.
somehow it got picked up by everybody. And there's been like, I think over 20 articles in the last 3 days about this. And I'm having a lot of trouble with it because they are quoting the tweets and not necessarily quoting from the blog that really like explains why and then me as an academic am cringing because on the blog I use super casual, snarky language. And so every national news outlet now has me saying, spoiler alert, it's a white dude. And so as someone who's trying to get a job next year in academia, it kind of makes me a little worried that now I'm going to be known as the girl who tweeted Netflix. But people are mad about it. Like they are mad at me. And so my mentions on Twitter over the weekend were the worst they have ever been. And as an academic, I have a skill set to be able to use that. So I made a spreadsheet and I literally like copied and pasted all of the hate tweets I was getting. And I put the tweet itself, and then if it was a male or a female, spoiler alert, mostly male, and then a column based on their avatar and their name, like if they were white or a person of color. Also, spoiler alert, like 3 people of color in the entire over 300 tweets that I have already put in. There are more. So now I'm going to do a content analysis and write an academic article about, because there's very distinct ways people get mad about it. It's either like there are 15 plus tweets that told me some variation of "you're what's wrong with America," and like PC culture run amok, and just all of these very similar ways that they talk about it. So that makes it easy for me to pull out those themes and talk about what they illuminate in broader conversations. So
they're helping you with your work.
Yes.
Shit.
So now every time I continue to get a mean one, I'm like, and for the spreadsheet, thank you. Oh, another one that calls me the C word. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. White Guy.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the fun part. This is our segment called Pew, 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 where we will ask you rapid fire questions that you may answer as quickly as you wish. I feel like a lot of people are like, they're put under pressure by the rapid fire. So it's not actually rapid fire. So what are some words that you wish that people would stop using? I know that like at least twice I have like only recently noticed that like some terms that I just like grew up using are like actually really offensive. Those two terms being, which I learned at work, is spirit animal. Like they were like, oh, you can't say spirit animal anymore. And I'm like, what? Oh, they say it in Disney all the time. So there's that. And also,
Disney should never be your justification for anything.
Agreed. I'm still growing, Heaven. Still learning.
That's allowed.
Yeah. And the other is powwow. Like I never realized.
Yeah, that's also super casual.
Yeah. So what are some other terms like those two that you wish people would stop casually using?
The one that happens all the time, and sometimes I even find myself saying it, is low man on the totem pole.
When do people use that?
So it's like when you're talking about a hierarchy, like at work or something, like, and you're like the intern, and so you're like, oh, I don't have a lot of clout. I'm like the low man on the totem pole.
Gotcha.
But the annoying thing is like for the communities that make the totem poles, there's no like hierarchy on the totem pole, and the one at the bottom is actually like holding up what's going on,
right.
And so that character can have a lot more importance.
It doesn't even make sense.
Yeah, so there's like all these weird things. People say like someone has gone off the reservation to like say that
I've
they're
heard
like,
before.
Yeah, so like political folks use that a lot.
Wait, what is? I don't know that I've heard that.
It's
before.
like if someone has like gone out of bounds or like just kind of like gone wild and crazy and like out of range of what they were doing, and that comes from like when natives were not allowed to leave the reservation, and then you like left and you were like, oh,
that's
he's
a
gone off the
wild
reservation.
sentence to bring up casually.
Right, like you must be nuts because you're leaving this place that
You're leaving the reservation.
Right, that reminds me of the disease that slaves were diagnosed with, tryptomania. Like, oh my God, she's crazy. She wants a freedom. She's obviously sick.
Yeah, I that's another word that I've never heard said out loud.
I don't know if I pronounced it right.
I thought it was drapetomania.
If you know how to pronounce this word, please call us.
I just love that they were like, you have a disease because you want to escape.
This is not normal.
Yo, white people just made up a lot of shit.
Right. Rules, words, names.
Where do you get all your fly ass jewelry?
Oh, that is a great question. So that's a big thing I always talk about with cultural appropriation is like, I don't care if you want to wear Native jewelry. I just want you to buy it from Native people.
Right.
Because we...
Not Forever 21.
Right. Like Native artists know how to represent themselves, how to represent their community. Then you're supporting Native communities, you're supporting Native economies, and the stuff is really well made and beautiful. So...
it is. It slays.
I get stuff at powwows a lot, but the big online resource is the Beyond Buckskin Boutique, which is shop.beyondbuckskin.com. And that's my friend Jessica Metcalf runs it. And she is a reformed academic. She used to be a professor. And now she is an entrepreneur. And so everything on that site is native made. And there's stuff at all price points, like from super cheap, like up to like couture stuff. So
oh, this is beautiful. I just logged onto the website, and the first thing I saw was a T-shirt that said "Native Americans discovered Columbus."
Jared Yazzie.
Yes.
So all sorts of cool stuff, and I get a lot of my stuff from there.
Academia is horrible. What are like some of the more absurd microaggressions you've encountered?
I don't even know where to start. I think I get a lot of times if people hear what I study, then they're like, want to ask me if I'm Native, but they don't know how to do it. So I get weird things like, so is someone in your family
Nice.
Native American? Or was like, do you have Native American ancestry, or just like weird questions. I always, once I say that I'm Native, then always people are like, oh, really? You don't look Indian? And I'm like, thank you. I'm not aware of that. Then the weird thing that I've been noticing a lot lately is there's an expectation that because I happen to be a Native person in academia, I know everything about every Native everywhere. And so I get these emails from like other faculty or like graduate students, and they're like, hi, I'm doing a paper on 19th century England, and I would like to know your opinions about like whatever random Native connection to this. And I'm like, I actually know absolutely nothing about that. But you would never expect that of like a white person historian to know everything about every white person ever in the history of everything. So.
We should start doing that to white people.
Name every white person.
How do you know Ashley? No?
What? I know Carol. What about Diane?
But the funny thing, especially in the Ivy League Native world, is people are like, oh, hey, do you know that one Native who's at Cornell? And I'm like, yeah, I do, actually.
Yes.
But you shouldn't assume that.
Yeah, you should assume that, though.
So we, of course, have to ask you about squirrels because it's become our thing. But our producer, Meg Kramer, has some new and innovative ways to ask about squirrels.
Okay.
And these questions kind of made us wonder what goes on in Meg's head.
They did a little bit.
But they're great questions. So, would you rather live in a city where squirrels can fly or live in a city where squirrels are as plentiful as pigeons?
Like, just imagine like 15 squirrels all
Like
eating
all around your
breadcrumbs
feet?
Yes.
at the same time.
And like, are we talking about squirrels can fly? So there's like lots of them, like seagulls all over, but they're squirrels.
I think it's still the same amount of squirrels.
Right.
That they're just in the
just
air
in
now.
the air. Then I'll totally go with the flying squirrels.
Okay.
Like the idea of them around my like ankles and my feet. Kind of,
Because I feel like they already don't respect your personal space. So.
but I actually
true.
came prepared with a squirrel story.
Please share.
Go on.
So in college at Stanford, there are these creepy black squirrels that are all over campus, and they are jet black, and they have kind of reddish eyes, like they're sort of like.
God.
And so the joke is that they're like an escaped science experiment, and they're only like at Stanford. But
I would believe that.
sophomore year, my friend Annie and I decided that we were going to be these like squirrel pranksters because we were inspired by our friends.
What does that mean?
So we had these friends who were these frat dudes that had a squirrel trap, and they would trap the black squirrels, and then they would release them on weird places on campus.
What?
They put one in a microwave at a sorority house. So like when they opened the microwave, the squirrel like jumped out at them, or they.
That is a health hazard.
Oh my God.
So being a young sophomore in college, we thought that would be really cool, and we wanted to be like the girl versions of that. And so our friend Russ gave us one of his squirrel traps, and so we put it outside our dorm.
Squirrel trap.
So it's this long like rectangular thing that is like mesh, and you put bait in it, and then it has like a little trap door, and then like when they eat the bait, the little door just closes.
So it doesn't hurt them.
No,
It just
it's like it's
captures
not like a
them,
mouse trap where it smushes them. It's like a live trap. It just like holds them.
Word.
So we put it outside our dorm, and we baited it with peanut butter and Cocoa Puffs because they're like totally what squirrels
Of course,
like.
squirrels eat Cocoa Puffs.
And it worked, and we caught one. And so we go charging down there, like grand plans of like the Stanford Daily article about these funny like squirrel pranksters. And the squirrel was freaking out, obviously. So like it's going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and it's like making this like creepy sound. So then
What does
Annie and
squirrels
I,
sound like? I
it
don't
was
know
like
what
this
squirrel
really
sounds like.
panicked, like sort of like squeaky sound, and it was so sad. So then Annie and I started freaking out, and I may or may not have started to cry. And the problem with the squirrel trap is in order to open it, you have to kind of stick your hand in it to like get the door to open up. And so I kept being like, I'm going to be brave, like through my like tears, being like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Like I'm going to stick my hand in there and open it up. But every time I would get close, the squirrel would charge over to my hand because it was mad. So instead, we're standing there like freaking out, and I was trying to be like all like feminist about it. We had to go get a boy to come and open the squirrel trap.
Make
and,
yourself useful,
And
man.
so he's like, "What's going on?" And we're like, "The squirrel is upset. Can you let it out?" And so he just like sticks his hand in and like lets it out, and the squirrel goes charging up a tree, and it was fine. Like it was just a little. It had a snack, you know. It had like the peanut butter.
What was your plan though? What was your prank?
Right.
So the whole idea was we were going to release it like in a crowded lecture hall. and that like people would be like, oh my God, a squirrel.
Yeah, that's an appropriate response.
But it didn't happen.
Oh my
And so now
God.
every time I see them, I just picture that poor trapped squirrel.
Wow, that is an incredible story.
That squirrel is somewhere rocking back and forth in a tree to this day. Just
I can't
not
believe
okay.
there are squirrel pranksters.
I've never
squirrel themed pranks. Would never have thought that's a thing.
Such grand plans.
Oh my God, thank you so much for coming.
so great.
This was so good.
If you think of a good offensive to white people costume for Halloween,
Yeah,
please send us
we'll,
pictures.
we will do
let
it.
you know.
So if people want to follow your work, what you're doing, where can they find you?
So my website is nativeappropriations.com. I am on Twitter at Native Approps. And that's also my Instagram handle too. So you can find me there.
And if they feel so compelled, where can they find your academic work? Journals?
Yeah, I mean, I
you have
actually
journal
don't.
subscriptions?
Well, you can go to Google Scholar and put in Adrienne Keene, and a couple of things will pop up there.
Okay.
I've got stuff in the works,
Word.
stuff that's going through journal. So that's the other thing. Journal publishing takes forever. So I can like write a blog post in an hour, and then journal publishing, I have to wait 6 months to hear
Yeah.
a response of if it's in or not.
I couldn't.
I mean, keep fighting that good fight in academia. Thanks so much for stopping by.
Please come back.
Me anytime. Yay.
Hey, Heben, guess what time it is?
What time is it?
Time to buy around.
Baby, come through.
Hey.
You deserve rounds.
Hey.
I'm going to just whisper that because I should stop singing on the show.
No, you cantar like un pájaro.
Wow.
That means you sing
I
like a
know what
bar
it
in
means.
Spanish. I be speaking it.
Oh my God. Who are you buying around for, Tracy?
So I'm buying around for people with tattoos because I just got my third
Ooh.
tattoo.
Tell the people what it is, Tracy.
So I got the words "everything is okay" on the inside of my right
yes.
wrist, and I got it in my mother's handwriting.
Oh.
I love it. She hates it. You know, it's a tribute to her. It's just the kind of person that she
Yo.
is. I think she secretly likes it. She just be fronting for the cameras. But
What is indicating that to you?
her good friend yelled to me that she actually loves it as they were dropping me off at the airport.
That's
Because it was
so
like the first time
cute.
she looked at it. She was like, "Ugh, I don't even want to see it." And I told her it was in her handwriting. She was like, "Oh, when did you do that? I didn't want this on your wrist." Blah, 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 blah. And then they were going to pull off. And our friend Sandra, she was like, "Tracy, she just told me that she really, really likes it."
She won't say it.
I know. She didn't want to say it.
You literally say this to me every day.
Right. And I say it to myself 1,000 times a day. And sometimes I need to hear it in somebody else's voice because I don't believe myself when I say it.
Yo, I should be saying it more. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. It's fine. It's fine. So when I look at it in her handwriting, I can kind of hear her voice saying it, and it really, really helps. So it's just my third total tattoo, the first one that I have instantly liked.
Okay. You guys remember the tramp stamp story?
We're not gonna go
episode
there.
3.
We're not gonna go back there. Shout out to everybody who has good ink. Shout out to everybody who has bad ink. I understand. I feel you. But I don't know. I love tattoos. So around for everybody who has one.
Yes.
How about you, Heben? Who you buying around for?
Someone tweeted me the most glorious thing I have seen. Shout out to Christopher Carter. It is a video of a gospel choir singing the song "Stay in Your Lane, Stop Swervin'."
Oh.
It's from 2013, and it's sung by a one Letitia Roberts. Do explain how things go. And as everyone was talking, I whispered to the person next to me, "I wish people would just stay in their lane and stop swerving." Very appropriate. Appropriate for every
Life
situation.
advice, life hack. Stay in your
And she's
lane.
like, it was at that moment that the melody came to me, the premise of the song. She's like, "Girl, yes, just stay in your lane. Stop swerving."
And you really have to watch the video to get the choreography.
Oh, the choreography is incredible.
is beautiful.
But yeah, stay in your lane, everyone.
Cease the swerve.
Cease. We did it, Tracy.
Yay.
Tracy, we made it. Hey.
Hey.
We want to give a shout out to Adrienne Keene for coming through. We're like really excited to have this
Yes.
conversation.
And for drinking bourbon
And
with us. We
drinking
love
with
it when
us.
people drink with us.
Yes. Follow her blog at nativeappropriations.com. Follow her work there and find her on Twitter. Shout out to the Pod Squad, of course.
Pod Squad.
This podcast is produced by Eleanor Kagan.
Yay.
Editorial oversight with Jenna Weiss-Berman.
Woo.
Production help from Julia Furlan and Meg Kramer.
Ow, ow.
And Paul Ruiz at Argo Studios.
Paul. Hey, Paul. Don't make it.
Oh my
bad.
God. You don't
Sad.
even know the song. Take a sad song
And make it better.
Anyways.
Thank you to our podcast musicians. That is the illustrious Jean Gray. You can follow her on Twitter at Jean Greasy. And to Don Will of the Almighty Tanya Morgan. You can follow him at Don Will. That's DONWILL. Thank you to Optimus Prime.
Thank you to the Tracy.
And thank you to the sagging pant.
Oh, man. Shout out to Frank.
We should just email him and tell him that God didn't wear pants.
Just like send him pictures of God. As always, you can find me at Heaven Rants, Heaven the noun, Rants the verb.
I'm a fan of that one still. You can find me at Brokey McPoverty. Brokey as in broke and McPoverty as in McPoverty on Twitter.
And if you want to see us live, make sure to check out popupmagazine.com where you can see all our tour dates. Hey.
San Francisco, Portland, Seattle, Chicago, and Brooklyn. Not necessarily in that order. Is it in that order?
It is actually in that order.
Yes.
So we
something
out
right
here
today. Come see us. Come see us. Call your mom, everybody. She's worried about you.
Maybe get a tattoo
Maybe.
with our handwriting.
Yes. Take your meds and listen. I'm not gonna have mine while I'm out of town soon. Hey, it's not. It's kind of my fault.
Literally after this is finished, I'm gonna go pick up my meds.
If you have meds, take them. If you don't have them, get a refill. Don't wait until last minute like me. Take a walk. People don't take walks enough,
agree.
I don't think. Just take a walk for the sake of taking a walk.
Word.
Do some stretching.
Back up your data.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm still backing up my data. You can follow us at facebook.com/anotherround, Twitter at anotherround, and always you can email us stuff at anotherround@buzzfeed.com. Send me your local news.
Yes. The more ridiculous, the better.
Please. It doesn't have to be explicitly racial. Like, I'm here for, like, bunnies have taken over our town news, you know? I'm still here for that. Send me all your news. All right. Thanks for listening, y'all. Bye.
Bye.
He would show me the saggy pant. Okay, I can get through this sentence. It's one of the things. All right, I'm gonna collect it. All right.
Oh, God.
Okay. He would show me the saggy pant. It's one of the.